Hello, I'm Terry Lindy, and welcome to our fitness training webinar. I've been involved in the fitness industry for well over 30 years and have worked with thousands of people over those years. Um, I've worked with people from all ages, from 6 years old up to 95, and I've learned quite a few tricks of the trade over the years, and I'd like to share them with you today. First of all, there's four main elements to fitness. There's strength and muscular endurance, there's cardiovascular endurance, there's flexibility, and nutrition. Of those four, nutrition is well over 50% of the battle. Now, goal setting is very, very important. So there was a Harvard study way back that took X number of people and followed them over a number of years and found out that every single person who wrote down their goals and had a clear plan for getting there reached their goals. Out of the entire study, the problem was there were only two people that did that. So if you write down your goals, have a plan, stay focused, it's going to be a much easier path to reach your fitness goals. Now, there's 7 basic steps that are key for goal setting. First, you need to identify what your goal is. You want to set a deadline for your goal. Don't want to leave it open-ended. It's important to have an end date. And if you don't reach your goal, it's not something that you should feel bad about or beat yourself up over. It's just reevaluate why you didn't reach your goal on time and then set a new deadline. You also want to list all of the obstacles that you're going to have to overcome. This is a brainstorming session, so just think of anything that might interfere, whether it's work, time, family schedule, whatever it might be. List the obstacles, and then the next step is to identify the resources that can help you get past the obstacles, whether it's getting up 15 minutes earlier in the morning, having a certain person to communicate with, to go over anything that you might have, making habits, other people that can help that have been there, whatever it might be. List your resources. Then you're going to identify what skills are needed to help you get past those obstacles. Develop your plan of action, and this is the most important. Write down the steps to get there. And then the final step is to set a reward. So when you actually do reach your goal, set a reward and enjoy the success. So 4 key elements. The first we'll talk about is progressive resistance. That's the main topic of today. Cardiovascular conditioning, flexibility, and nutrition are also key components. The benefits, you'll maintain your activity levels, you'll stay in shape, your metabolism is going to stay high. The main reason people gain weight and fat as they get older is because they lose lean body mass and their activity decreases. If you start early, this is going to help prevent all of that. Plus, it's a key for injury prevention. And one key philosophy we've always gone with is anything is better than nothing. So try not to get stuck in the habit of, if you are doing the whole program, then on a given day, if your time is limited, 5-10 minutes, whatever it might be, you decide not to do the program because you can't do the entire thing. No, do one set, one exercise, whatever it might be. Anything is better than nothing for that day, and it's going to help you get the consistency you need to reach your goals. So the 3 main principles for muscular strength and endurance are frequency, intensity, and duration. So factors that you need to consider are the recovery of the muscles. Larger muscles recover at a different rate than smaller muscles. How often you're using them for other activities, whether it might be yard work, driving, whatever. The splits, the intensity versus the volume. There's something called muscular threshold and cycling. We'll talk about all of those in the next few slides. So the recovery of the muscles is going to be the main thing that you need to be aware of. If your muscles aren't recovering, you're not going to be making progress. So the exercise and training that you do is only a stimulus, and it's only as good as what you can recover from. So sometimes one set is better than 2, 3, or 4 sets, whatever it might be, as long as you can recover from it. And that changes each week, each month, based on sleep, stress, nutrition, whatever it might be. The next variable or component fundamental is the splits. So how you split up your body. If you are working on a 1 or 2 day a week program, you're going to want to work with a full body split, but do different emphasis on each day if you're doing a 2 day split. If you're doing a 3 day split, you need to break up the muscles to allow for the recovery. Now, large muscle groups take about 48 to 72 hours to recover. Small muscle groups recover within 24 to 48 hours. So a good split would be, on a 3 day split, would be like back and chest. Those are 2 large muscle groups. You're hitting your arms and shoulders with those exercises indirectly. You're taking the day off. On the next day, you hit legs and shoulders are hit directly, which also involve a little bit of back and chest. So you're maintaining that. On the third day, you would do a light back and chest, which does not mean that it's easy for you, but it means lower volume. So if you did 3 exercises for back on the first day, you'd only do 1 exercise for back on this day and then hit arms directly. So you can see that every 24 to 48 hours, if this was a Monday, Wednesday, Friday program, you'd be hitting your small muscle groups of your shoulders and arms. On day 1, you're hitting back and chest. Day 2 is just a tad of back and chest. And then 96 hours later, you'd hit back and chest again. You'd go through the weekend, which would be 72 hours, and you'd be back to back and chest again on Monday. Legs is only hit 1 day per week intensely because I'm assuming that you would be doing cardiovascular exercise. And with the cardiovascular exercise, your legs are worked quite a bit, even though it's at a lower intensity, so it does affect the recovery. So that's how you would set up a split for allowing particular muscles to recover accordingly. The third fundamental is the intensity versus volume. So by definition, the higher the volume, the lower the intensity. The higher the intensity, the lower the volume. So ideally, you're going to the point of momentary muscular failure. And we'll get to that a little bit with muscular threshold. But if you go to the point where you cannot do another complete repetition in good technique, that's 100% intensity. That's what you're trying to reach by the last set. So if you do 4, 5, 6 sets, that's a high volume. You can't do each of those sets at 100% intensity and expect to recover from them. So we're managing the volume and the intensity based on your goals. If you are more of an endurance person that needs a lot of more muscular endurance, higher volume and lower intensity are a better way to go. If you want to gain more strength and size, a higher intensity and lower volume are a better way to go throughout the year. We'll get into cycling in just a bit, but no matter what your goals are, you want to have certain periods where you're going high intensity, low volume, and other periods where it's high volume, low intensity. The next fundamental, the fourth one, is muscular threshold. And what this has to do with is your particular muscle, there's an all or none principle. So only as many fibers as necessary to make a movement happen are going to fire. So if you're doing a curl exercise, for example, where you're moving your arms up and down, if I'm doing it with body weight, let's say only 10 fibers are going to fire because that's all that's needed to lift my arm. If I'm holding a 30-pound dumbbell, then I'm going to get 1,000 fibers firing to move that weight. Now, as I go through a set, the first couple are going to be easy, and then they start to get harder and harder. Feel a burn in the muscle, and at some point, I'm not going to be able to do another repetition. Okay, that's 100% for the muscle. Now, in order for your body to recover stronger and make adaptations for what you're doing with the training stimulus, you need to hit that 100% effort or go slightly past with intensification techniques. So one of the best ways to do this is, let's use the curls as an example again. So if you're doing a curl and you're using 30 pounds and you're doing 10 repetitions, the first set should be fairly easy. That's going to act like a warm-up set. You're going to rest a period of time, and then you're going to try for 10 more repetitions. Depending on how long you rest, the 10 repetitions might be easy again, or you might only get 8, 9, or barely get 10. Then you're going to rest a period of time and do another set of 10, shooting for the goal of 10 repetitions. Ideally, you're not going to get 10 repetitions. If you get all 3 sets of 10 repetitions, then you would go up to the next weight increment, which is usually going to be 35 pounds in this example. So the longer you rest in between sets, the more your muscles recover. So the lower the intensity. And that means you would need higher volumes. So you would need 3, 4, 5 sets. If you rest a short period of time, the muscles are starting off more fatigued and you're not going to get as many repetitions. So to reach that 100% threshold, I recommend that you're only resting 30 to 45 seconds in between sets. That means that the muscles aren't going to fully recover in between sets, and by that third set, you're going to be at momentary muscular failure. Then you can use intensification techniques such as forced repetitions if you have a training partner, descending sets, supersets, all sorts of intensification techniques to get your body to ask your body to do more than what it's capable of. And then when it recovers, you'll come back stronger the next time. So one way of telling this is if you're doing an exercise, and let's just say you get 3 sets of 10 and you go bump up to the next weight for 35 pounds. Now, if you're doing the curls, as in the previous example, come in, you get 10 repetitions the first set, the second set you barely get 10 repetitions, and the third set, let's say you get 8 and your muscles fail. Okay, the next time you come in, the third week, you're doing the curls, you get 10 repetitions. Now, the second set, instead of getting 10 repetitions, you only get 7. Your muscles just shut off. You can't go any further. So that's an indication that your muscles have not fully recovered. So most people would decrease the weight, go down to 30 pounds, 25 pounds, whatever, do the last 3 sets on that set, and then still do the third set. In order for the muscles to recover and come back stronger, it's going to be better that you just stop the workout for that particular muscle group at that time, let them fully recover, come back, and then you should be stronger the next time. So that's one indication or a way of reading if a particular muscle group has fully recovered or if it needs more recovery, if you cannot do at least what you did in the previous session. Okay, now the last fundamental that we'll cover is cycling. And what this means, taken more from a sports orientation with periodization, but cycling means you can't do 100% and focus on all of the muscle groups that you want to at the same time or in the same period of time. You need to prioritize and pick a muscle group or two or an exercise or two to focus on for a period of time, make progress with those, and then start again with a new couple of exercises or muscle group for the goals. So what this means is if you are working out for an entire year with 52 weeks, you might break it up into 10-week cycles. And the first 10 weeks, you focus on your back and chest and more muscular endurance. Then at the end of the 10 weeks, so you're building up, you're making nice progress. Then just before you get into an overtrained state where you can't recover from the volume and the intensity anymore, you cycle back, start lighter, maybe focus on legs and shoulders this next time, more for a priority, more on strength, and build up to a new peak. And then you're again starting lighter, but higher than where you started the first time, and build up to a new peak. So it's a stair-step fashion. And you can break this up into as many or few cycles during the year as you would like. But some cycles are going to be higher intensity and low volume, and other cycles are going to be higher volume and lower intensity. That has a lot to do with whether you want to gain more size, which you should focus the majority of the year on high intensity and low volume, or minimize size and focus more on muscular endurance, which you would do higher volume, higher repetitions, and lower weight during the year. Key to helping maintain range of motion and injury prevention as well as recovery is flexibility. So the benefits are maintaining a joint range of motion. The tighter a muscle is and the less range of motion it can move through, the more likely you are to get injured. And there's three main types of stretching. There's static, where you hold a certain position for X amount of time, typically 20 to 30 seconds. There's ballistic, where you're bouncing or moving through the range of motion. And then PNF, which is proprio-neuromuscular facilitation, which is a special type of stretching to increase a range of motion at a quicker rate. Again, we're looking at frequency, intensity, and duration. So the frequency, stretching does need to be done every day. The intensity, it should not be a super high intensity. You should go into the point of a stretch where you feel the pull on the muscle, hold that position until you feel like it's going to relax, which should take hopefully about 10 to 15 seconds, and then try and go a little bit further and hold the total time for 20 to 30 seconds. So the duration is going to take, outside of each stretch lasting that 20 to 30 seconds, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes per day. And to touch on PNF, what that is doing is allowing the muscle, there's receptors in the muscles that sense when a muscle is being stretched. If you stretch a muscle too far or too hard at a given time, the defense mechanism is for the muscle to contract and spasm, and you're going to end up with an injury. So that's the downside to a ballistic type stretching. If you're bouncing, you can easily go too far for what a muscle's ready for, and the muscle's going to end up tighter and locked up in a knot. So when a muscle is contracted, it doesn't think that it's being stretched. So this is one way to do PNF stretching. You put a muscle group in a position of a stretch, say your arm overhead. Then you can use your other hand to hold that position, and you're going to try and contract the tricep muscle on the left arm, which is the back of the arm right here. And I'm going to use my right hand to prevent it. So I'm doing an isometric contraction. I'm trying to straighten out my left arm, but I'm preventing it with the right arm. So when that muscle contracts, it doesn't think that it's being stretched, and then you can relax it and take it a little bit further into the range of motion. So if you want to do this type of stretching, you can do it either with a partner or a towel. By yourself is an easier way to do it. But you contract for about 6 seconds, then relax for 10 seconds. Contract for 6 seconds, relax for 10 seconds. You only need to repeat that cycle 2 or 3 times, and then you can do that for each muscle group if you prefer, or just certain tight muscle groups that might be overloaded and tighter on a given week. So those are the key fundamentals for fitness training. So hopefully this helps get you started with basic tips for setting up a program, and I will hopefully talk with you. You can contact me anytime, phone or email. Just let me know any questions that might come up, and otherwise, happy training.